I'm Ethan Kwan, and today I'm going to be showing you how to solve problems like square roots with variables like x and y and whatever, like that. So let's say we had, so let's say we had 2 times the square root of 3x times the square root, let me try that again, the square root of 2x squared. Okay, so, and I want to simplify this. Now, we can first, 12x squared. Okay, so I want to simplify this. Now, again, as always, pause the video and give it a go. Okay, so I hope you've tried it. Oh, no, I don't want to change that. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so if we have 2 times 3x times, 2 times the square root of 3x times the square root of 12x squared, then we can say that, so let's put everything under the radical sign first, because, if you know that there's an exponent property where it says, and let me just move over a little, like that, if you have 2 things under the radical, and they're being multiplied by each other, then you can write it as same under the same radical. So we can write it as 2 times 3x, and we can put everything under the radical, times 12. And actually, let me factor out 12. So 12 is 3 times 4. Actually, I think I can factor it even more. So we have, so we can first write it as square root of 3x times the square root of 12x squared. Okay, so first let me factor 12. So we can write it as 3 times 4. So it's going to be 3 times 4. No, I don't want to write the multiplication symbol, so because it might get confusing with x. 3 times 4x squared. And we can put everything under the radical, so 3x times 3 times x times 3 times 4 times x squared. Again, everything under the radical, and of course we have this 2 times out here. Scroll down a little. So when we have this, we can actually write it again as 2 times, and let me switch the colors. Okay, 2 times square root of 3 times 3. I'm just writing these 2 down here. 3 times, dang it, I wrote 2 again. 3 times, and we can write the x squared over here, x squared. And then we can write multiplied by, and this is the principal square root, so let me just do that, times, just write the remaining ones, which is this x and this 4. So x times 4 or 4x. So times 4x times the square root of 4x. I mean, so let me write it down again, and it's kind of getting hard switching colors now, so I'm gonna not switch any colors. So 2 times the square root of 3 times 3 is 9, and x squared, and this little 2 here, these two cancel out, so we're gonna have not the square root of 9 times x. So, and the square root of 9 is 3, so we can actually get rid of this radical here, and we can write 2 times 9x, times 4, and I'm the square root of 4, and I'm going to write the x over here, times the square root of x. That's another exponent property. Scroll down even more. Let's see. So we have, and 2 times 9 is 18. So 18. Wait, can you do that? You know, I'm gonna write it as 2 times 9x times 4. The square root of 4 is 2, and so we have 2 times 9x, and of course 2 times 2 is 4, so we can write it as 4 times 9, 4 times 9x, times the square root of x. And I think that's all we can simplify, actually. If you have a way of simplifying even more, then just tell me, okay? So let's try another problem, because practice makes perfect, right? Yeah. Okay, let's try another problem. Let's see. How about simplifying 3 times the square root of 64x to the 5th. Okay. So, again, pause the video, try this out on your own. Okay, so you might be a bit confused because, well, you might pay attention to this x to the 5th. This is a very big exponent. But just to realize, 64 is a perfect square. So we can write this as 3 times, so we can not put everything under the radical. We can write it as 3 times the square root of 64 times x square root of x to the 5th. No, x to the 5th. There we go. And now 64, the square root of 64 is, the square root of 64 is 8. So 3 times 8, right? Yeah, I think so. 3 times 8 times x to the 5th, or 3 times 8 is 24, right? Yeah. 24 times, I forgot to write the square root here, times the square root of x to the 5th, right? And just scroll down a little. And now to simplify this x to the 5th, we can write 24 again, and then multiply by x to the 5th is, you can write it as, so you can write it as x, the square root of x to the 4th times the square root of x, right? And you get 24 times the square root of, and we don't need to write the square root because you probably know And if you don't, this is another exponent property. I mean, radical property. Either way. X to the fourth, there's this little index 2 here. Even though we don't really write it if it's a square root, there's another index 2 here and here. But we don't really use it. But what you do is you divide 4 by the index number. Because the reason I did this, like from x to the 5th to x to the 4 times x, is because we can do this because it's an even number and it's divisible by 2. So we can write it as the square root. No, we don't need the square root. We can write it as x to the 2nd. So 24x to the 2nd times x. And that's what you get. That's the square root of x. And that's why it works. And now I can explain why we can convert to the square root of x to the 4th to x squared. Is because so if you write this out like x to the 4th, it's going to be x times x times x, x times x, right? And all that under the radical, or yeah, there's a little index 2. And of course we can write it as we can group these two, so we can write it as x squared, because x times x is squared. And of course these two cancel out, and same thing with this side. It becomes, so basically it becomes x times x, or x squared. Okay, now, I'm getting kind of bored of this red color. Let's try that. Okay, now, last problem, and I really want you to try this on your own. What is 2 times the square root of 7x times 3? Wait, let me write that 7x a bit better. 7x times 3 times the square root of 14x x squared. Okay, and I really want you to try this on your own, and this might be a bit confusing at first, but you'll get the hang of it. So what you do first, and I hope you've tried the video, pause the video and tried it. So you can pause the video now. Okay, so what you do first is you first group all the like terms together. So like 2 times 3, we can group that, and 7, the square root of 7x and 14x squared, we can group those. So we can rewrite this as 2 times 3 times the square root of 7x times the square root of 14x squared. And the reason I did this is because it looks easier, and we can write down 2 times 3 is 6, and we can multiply by 7x, and we can put everything under the radical, times 14x squared. And now what we can do is factor out everything. So we can write it over here. 6 times the square root of 7, no, not x. 7 times x times 14, you can do that as 7 times 2. 2 times x squared. Or you can write that as x times x. and all of that under the radical, like that. And why did we do this? Because we can actually simplify it to be, and you see 2 7s here. We can put that under the radical. So 6 times 7 times 7, and 7 times 7, and we can group these again. So that's going to be x squared. So, and we can put that under this radical, because this is easy. This is 49, and the square root of 49 is 7. So that's easy. And the square root of x squared is just x. So we can write that as x squared over here. Principal root. No, we can add that too, but it's okay. And we can multiply that by the remaining one. So we did that. So we can write it as x squared, x times 2, or 2x, times the principal root of 2x, right? Okay, now we're in the home stretch. We can write this as 6 times, almost in the home stretch. We can write this as 6 times the square root of 49 times the square root of x squared times the square root of 2x. Or we can write this as 6 times 7 times x, the square root of x squared. So if we put the index number, these two cancel out. So we can write it as x. And then we can leave the 2x as is. So times 2x. Okay, now we're in the home stretch. 6 times 7 is 42. 42x times the square root, principal square root, of 2x. There we go. We simplified this equation. 2 times 7x times 3 times 14x squared. 2 times 2, 42x times 2x. And this is the most simplified version. I want to give you one more problem that I want you to solve. Please post the answer in the comments. I want you to solve 3 times, let's see, 3 times the square root of, let's see, 27x to the, let's see, 7th. Okay, and see if you can simplify this. Leave it in the comments. You have to search up how to type the the square root symbol on your computer. I have no idea, but post the answer in the comments. Okay, so see you at howtodostufffwithethan.com, and see you next time. Bye. Okay, so if you stayed, I want to give you the answer to that. Not many. I bet a few of you stayed. A lot of you stayed. So, yeah. So 3 times. So we can write 27 as 3 times 7x to the 7th. All of that on the square root side, times 3. So we can write this as, you can write this as the square root of 3 times 7, times x to the 7th, the square root of x to the 7th, and we can simplify this as x to the 6th times x. So we can put this under the radical, times 3 times 7. And that under the radical, and of course there's this lonely 3 out here. Now, you can't simplify the square root of 3 times 7. 7 is a prime number. Or is it? Yeah, I think it is. So we can only simplify the x to the 6th times x. So we can write this as x to the 3rd times x, and 3 times 7. So we can do that. No, we can get rid of this. So the answer is 3 times x to the 3rd times, and of course the square root of 27. Let me write this over here. Wait, what? Okay, so we can write this as 3x cubed times the square root of 27x. So it's literally the same thing we wrote, but it's a bit simplified. That's all for this episode. Thanks for watching. Bye. I said bye. Hello.